Fear is the oldest language of power. Fear is the first signal the human nervous system ever learned to recognize. Long before written laws, before governments, before moral philosophies, fear shaped behavior. It warned early humans of predators, exile, starvation, and death. Power did not emerge from reason. It emerged from survival. Machiavelli did not invent this understanding, he observed it honestly. He saw that beneath manners, culture, and ideals, human beings are still animals responding to threat. Love requires time, trust, and stability. Fear requires only uncertainty. Love negotiates. Fear commands. Love asks for loyalty. Fear extracts obedience. When fear enters the room, debate exits immediately. The body reacts before the mind forms an argument. Muscles tense, breath shortens, focus narrows. This is why fear is faster than reason and more reliable than affection. Machiavelli was not praising cruelty, he was describing mechanics. He understood that rulers who rely solely on love gamble on conditions remaining favorable. But fear does not depend on weather, fortune, or gratitude. It functions in chaos. It operates in scarcity. It dominates in moments when people no longer think about virtue but about survival. Power, at its core, is the ability to influence behavior under pressure. And nothing applies pressure like fear. This is why fear outlives dynasties and ideologies. Empires fall, but fear remains. Crowns rust, but fear transfers seamlessly from one authority to another. Machiavelli's realism unsettles people because it removes comforting illusions. He did not ask how humans should behave. He studied how they do behave when stakes are real. And what he found was simple, uncomfortable, and enduring. Fear speaks fluently to human nature, while love often whispers too softly to be heard when survival is on the line. To understand fear as a weapon, one must first understand human nature. Humans prefer to imagine themselves as rational, ethical, principled beings. This self-image is comforting. It allows people to believe they act from reason rather than instinct. But Machiavelli observed humans not in calm moments, but under pressure, when resources shrink, when status is threatened, when safety is uncertain. Under these conditions, reason does not lead, instinct does. Fear awakens ancient survival mechanisms buried beneath culture. Morality becomes flexible. Ideals become negotiable. Principles are praised loudly until they become inconvenient. When fear arises, people do not ask what is right, they ask what is necessary. Machiavelli understood that survival is the deepest loyalty humans possess. People will abandon beliefs, alliances, and even identities to preserve themselves. Fear strips away pretense. It reveals priorities. This is why fear is such an effective weapon. It aligns power with instinct rather than intellect. Intellect debates. Instinct reacts. When people are afraid, they seek protection, authority, and certainty. They submit not because they are convinced, but because submission feels safer than resistance. Machiavelli's insight was not cynical, it was observational. He did not claim humans are evil, he recognized they are fragile. Fear exploits fragility. It does not need to persuade, it only needs to threaten loss. And loss, whether of life, livelihood, or belonging, is the deepest terror humans know. Fear weaponized is not about sadism. It is about leverage. The lever is survival, and the fulcrum is uncertainty. Those who understand this can predict behavior with disturbing accuracy. Those who deny it are often shocked when loyalty evaporates under pressure. Machiavelli was not disappointed by humanity. He simply refused to romanticize it. Fear does not require constant violence. One of Machiavelli's most misunderstood insights is that fear is weakened by excess brutality. Violence is loud. It attracts attention. It creates chaos. True fear is quiet, structured, and precise. It does not scream. It whispers certainty. When punishment is unpredictable or emotional, it generates hatred. But when consequences are consistent, Fear becomes internalized. People begin to police themselves. Machiavelli understood that the most effective fear operates in the imagination. A single decisive act, executed calmly and without excess, can echo longer than 100 threats. Repeated cruelty dulls fear and sharpens resentment. But rare, unavoidable consequences sharpen awareness. Fear works best when people know exactly where the boundary lies and what happens if it is crossed. This kind of fear is not frenzy, it is order. It creates psychological containment. Individuals modify behavior not because they are constantly watched, but because they anticipate outcomes. Machiavelli emphasized predictability over savagery. Emotional punishment signals weakness, loss of control. Structured punishment signals authority. The goal is not suffering, it is compliance. Violence is a tool, but fear is a system. When fear is embedded into expectations, power becomes efficient. There is no need for constant enforcement. Silence does the work. This is why excessive brutality ultimately destabilizes regimes. It replaces respect with rage. Fear must remain cold, not hot. Strategic, not reactive. The ruler, or any authority figure, must appear calm, restrained, and inevitable. When people fear consequences rather than temperament, power stabilizes. Machiavelli's lesson here is subtle but profound. Fear is not about how much pain you cause, but about how clearly people understand that consequences cannot be escaped. Love depends on goodwill. Fear depends on structure. Goodwill is fragile. It shifts with circumstances, moods, and perceived benefits. Love requires maintenance. It must be nurtured, reaffirmed, and protected from disappointment. Fear requires none of this. Fear rests on structure, rules, consequences, and clarity. Machiavelli understood that people are loyal when loyalty is profitable. When conditions change, affection dissolves quickly. Fear, however, does not depend on gratitude. It depends on cost. When the cost of disobedience outweighs the benefit, behavior aligns automatically. Fear creates invisible fences. People do not need to be reminded constantly. They sense the boundaries instinctively. This is why fear scales better than love. Love is personal. Fear is systemic. A ruler loved by many is still vulnerable when circumstances deteriorate. A ruler feared by many remains protected even when affection disappears. Machiavelli was not dismissing love entirely, he was ranking reliability. Love inspires when times are good. Fear stabilizes when times are bad. Structure outlasts sentiment. Fear embedded in structure becomes cultural. It is passed down, reinforced by stories, expectations, and memory. This is why institutions rely on enforcement mechanisms rather than goodwill alone. Rules without consequences are suggestions. Fear transforms rules into reality. Machiavelli's realism cuts through moral comfort. People respect boundaries not because they are noble, but because they are enforced. Fear ensures consistency where love cannot. It is not warmer, but it is sturdier. The most effective fear is invisible. Fear is strongest when it exists in anticipation rather than action. When people imagine consequences, they magnify them. The mind fills gaps with worst-case scenarios. Machiavelli understood that imagination is a force multiplier. A single act, properly timed and clearly communicated, can create a shadow far larger than the act itself. When fear becomes visible too often, it loses mystique. But when it remains unseen, it grows. Silence feeds fear. People monitor themselves more strictly than any external authority ever could. This is the genius of psychological power, control without constant intervention. Fear that lives in anticipation saves resources. It governs behavior efficiently. People do not rebel against what they imagine. They hesitate, they calculate, they retreat. Machiavelli recognized that unpredictability in enforcement breeds chaos, but predictability in consequence breeds restraint. The invisible nature of fear allows power to appear effortless. No shouting, no threats, just understanding. This kind of fear becomes ambient. It fills the environment like pressure. People sense it even when nothing happens. And because humans fear uncertainty more than pain, anticipation becomes the punishment. Fear multiplies in quiet spaces. It matures in absence. The most powerful authority figures rarely need to act. Their reputation does the work for them. Machiavelli understood this long before psychology named it. The mind is the battlefield, and imagination is the most efficient weapon. Psychologically, fear narrows perception. Fear compresses the human mind. When afraid, people lose peripheral vision, literally and metaphorically. Options disappear. Questions fade. The brain prioritizes safety over curiosity. Machiavelli understood that fear simplifies decision-making. It reduces complexity. People stop asking why and focus on how to survive. This narrowing effect is why fear silences dissent more effectively than force. People censor themselves internally. They justify authority to reduce anxiety. Once fear takes root, individuals often defend the system that frightens them because resistance feels more dangerous than compliance. This is psychological alignment through threat. Fear does not just control bodies, it reshapes beliefs. People reinterpret reality to feel safer. Machiavelli saw that power becomes self-sustaining once fear is internalized. Authority no longer needs to convince, it needs only to exist. Fear collapses debate into obedience. This is not stupidity. It is self-preservation. Under fear, humans trade freedom for predictability willingly. They rationalize submission as wisdom. Machiavelli's insight here is chilling. Fear does not merely suppress opposition. It recruits it psychologically. Philosophically, fear raises uncomfortable questions about morality. Is it immoral to rule through fear if it produces stability? Machiavelli refused to answer this with sentiment. He separated moral aspiration from political reality. His concern was not what feels good, but what works. He did not argue that fear is virtuous, only that it is effective. Philosophy often dreams of ideal humans. Machiavelli studied real ones. Fear exists whether we approve of it or not. Ignoring it does not make it disappear, it makes power fragile. Stability, in his view, was not about purity but survival. Chaos harms the innocent more than disciplined authority ever could. Machiavelli's realism is uncomfortable because it forces responsibility. If fear stabilizes society, is refusing to use it more ethical or more naive? He did not celebrate fear, he acknowledged its role. Power lives in the world as it is, not as we wish it to be. Ideals collapse under pressure. Systems grounded in reality endure. Machiavelli's philosophy is not cruel, it is unsentimental. He understood that morality without power is fragile, and power without understanding fear is blind. Fear also creates hierarchy. Fear reveals strength differences immediately. Those who remain composed under threat rise. Those who panic fall. Machiavelli observed that leadership is not declared, it is recognized in crisis. Calmness under pressure signals authority. Rage signals loss of control. Fear separates leaders from followers because most people seek someone steadier than themselves. Those who withstand fear command attention without demanding it. Machiavelli understood that appearing unshaken is itself a form of dominance. When chaos erupts, people look for stillness. Fear reorganizes social order rapidly. The fearless become anchors. The fearful seek proximity to power. Hierarchy forms naturally around perceived strength. Machiavelli advised leaders to cultivate emotional restraint because composure amplifies authority. Fear sharpens perception. People notice who stands firm. Those individuals become reference points. Fear does not just control, it sorts. It clarifies who leads and who follows. Machiavelli recognized this not as manipulation, but as human gravity. To be feared is not to be hated. Machiavelli drew a sharp and often misunderstood distinction between fear and hatred. Fear creates distance. Hatred creates obsession. When people fear authority, they become cautious, restrained, and calculating. When they hate authority, they become reckless. Hatred removes fear of consequences and replaces it with desperation. This is why hatred is far more dangerous to power than fear ever is. Fear preserves self-interest. Hatred abandons it. A feared authority is avoided, respected, and left unchallenged. A hated authority becomes a target. Machiavelli understood that fear functions as a stabilizer because it keeps people rational about their own survival. Hatred, on the other hand, fuels martyrdom. People will risk everything to destroy what they hate, especially when they believe they have nothing left to lose. This is why Machiavelli warned rulers never to cross the invisible line where fear mutates into resentment. Fear must feel impersonal, about rules, structure, and consequences, not personal humiliation or cruelty. When fear feels systemic, people adapt. When it feels vindictive, they revolt. Fear says, stay away. Hatred says, burn it down. Power survives on distance, not obsession. Machiavelli's insight here is surgical. Authority must be intimidating enough to discourage challenge, but restrained enough to avoid emotional injury. The moment people feel personally violated rather than strategically contained, fear collapses into fury, and fury is uncontrollable. Fear preserves order because it still respects life. Hatred disregards it. This is why Machiavelli treated hatred as the true enemy of power, not fear. Fear works fastest because it does not negotiate. Fear does not ask permission. It does not debate ethics or wait for consensus. It moves directly through the nervous system, bypassing logic and striking instinct. Love requires explanation. Authority grounded in fear requires none. Machiavelli understood that speed matters in moments of uncertainty when people feel confused or threatened. They do not ask who is morally right, they ask who is dangerous. Fear answers that question immediately. It simplifies reality. It collapses complexity into urgency. Fear provides clarity when chaos overwhelms reason. This is why fear often determines outcomes before arguments even begin. While love invites discussion, fear ends it. Machiavelli was not advocating tyranny. He was recognizing efficiency. In crises, hesitation is fatal. Fear compels action. It closes alternatives. It directs behavior decisively. This speed is why fear is so seductive to those in power. It produces immediate results. But Machiavelli also understood its limits. Fear solves short-term instability better than love ever could. In moments where survival is at stake, people obey first and reflect later. Fear creates alignment through urgency. It does not convince, it compels. And compulsion, while not noble, is effective. Machiavelli's realism acknowledges a hard truth. When uncertainty peaks, humans prioritize safety over justice. Fear becomes the language they understand instantly. The greatest mistake is to fear everyone equally. Fear loses power when it becomes routine. If everyone is punished constantly, punishment becomes background noise. Machiavelli emphasized selectivity. Fear must feel exceptional to remain effective. When discipline is rare but decisive, it imprints deeply. When it is constant, it dulls sensitivity. Humans adapt quickly. They normalize suffering. Machiavelli understood that power requires psychological contrast. The possibility of punishment must loom, but its execution must be restrained. This creates anticipation rather than exhaustion. Fear must be memorable, not monotonous. Selective enforcement sends a message without exhausting authority. People remember examples more than rules. A single, well-chosen consequence can discipline an entire population. Machiavelli warned that indiscriminate fear creates resentment and chaos. It teaches nothing except hostility. Strategic fear teaches boundaries. It clarifies limits. It creates self-regulation. When punishment feels earned and inevitable, fear becomes instructional rather than inflammatory. Machiavelli's insight here is about precision. Power must strike rarely but unmistakably. This preserves authority while minimizing resistance. Fear, when selective, becomes a teacher. When indiscriminate, it becomes a tyrant, and tyrants do not last. Fear also protects the one who wields it. A feared individual is not easily tested. People hesitate before challenging strength. Machiavelli understood that visible power discourages opposition before it forms. Most threats never materialize because fear dissolves them at conception. Prevention is more efficient than suppression. When fear surrounds authority, conspiracies die quietly. Resistance retreats inward. This protective effect allows power to conserve energy. Instead of constant defense, authority enjoys deterrence. Machiavelli recognized that fear reduces betrayal because betrayal is risky. People calculate consequences carefully when fear is present. They choose safety over ambition. Fear also creates space. It keeps adversaries distant. This distance preserves control. A ruler constantly loved must constantly perform. A ruler feared is left alone. Machiavelli was not praising isolation. He was describing insulation. Fear insulates power from endless challenges. It stabilizes position. It creates breathing room. This protection is psychological as much as physical. When authority is feared, even criticism softens. Words become careful. Actions become cautious. Fear reduces friction. Machiavelli understood that power survives not by constant victory, but by discouraging battle altogether. On a personal level, fear shapes social dynamics. Fear is not confined to politics or rulers. It operates in everyday human interaction. Boundaries are respected when consequences are felt. Machiavelli's insight extends into personal power. Those who never enforce limits invite violation. Endless forgiveness without strength signals availability for exploitation. Fear, at a personal level, is not about intimidation. It is about clarity. When people know where the line is and what happens if it is crossed, behavior changes. Respect grows where consequences exist. Machiavelli understood that humans test limits instinctively. They probe weakness unconsciously. Fear stops probing. It communicates seriousness. Social order, even in small groups, depends on enforced boundaries. This is not cruelty, it is structure. Fear teaches others how to treat you. Without it, expectations blur. With it, relationships stabilize. Machiavelli's realism applies equally to friendships, families, and leadership. Kindness without consequence is fragile. Strength without restraint is destructive. Fear balanced with fairness creates respect. And respect sustains order longer than affection alone ever could. Fear, however, must be balanced with restraint. Power intoxicates easily. Those who enjoy instilling fear lose strategic discipline. Machiavelli warned against indulgence. Fear is a tool, not a pleasure. When authority begins to savor fear, judgment collapses. Cruelty replaces calculation. This is where power decays. Machiavelli advised rulers to remain emotionally detached from their own authority. Fear must be applied coldly, not emotionally. Enjoyment signals loss of control. Strategy requires distance. The moment fear becomes personal gratification, it transforms into chaos. Restraint preserves clarity. Fear should serve stability, not ego. Machiavelli's realism includes self-discipline. Power is dangerous to its wielder as much as to others. Those who cannot restrain themselves eventually provoke rebellion. Fear must remain purposeful. When it becomes indulgent, it becomes self-destructive. Philosophically, fear reveals a paradox. Humans crave freedom, yet they also crave authority. They desire autonomy but fear chaos. This contradiction defines political and social life. Fear resolves the paradox by offering order. When uncertainty rises, freedom feels dangerous. Authority feels comforting. Machiavelli understood that fear increases demand for control. People willingly surrender liberty to escape anxiety. This is why fear rises during crises. It simplifies reality. It promises safety. People do not seek freedom when survival feels threatened. They seek protection. Fear becomes the currency of order. Machiavelli did not judge this impulse. He documented it. Authority grows where fear grows because fear creates need. This is not manipulation. It is human psychology responding to uncertainty. Fear also exposes truth. Under fear, pretenses collapse. Loyalty reveals itself. Courage surfaces. Integrity becomes visible. Machiavelli saw fear as a filter. Those who remain steady under threat are rare. They become valuable. Fear strips away convenience. It shows who stands firm when incentives disappear. This is why fear tests character more accurately than comfort ever could. Comfort flatters. Fear interrogates. Machiavelli respected fear because it clarifies reality. It exposes allies and enemies alike. Those who endure fear without betrayal become pillars of power. Those who crumble were never reliable. Fear reveals truth not through cruelty, but through pressure. And pressure always reveals structure. The illusion of kindness without strength invites exploitation. Machiavelli understood a truth many refuse to accept. Kindness unbacked by power is not virtue. It is vulnerability. Appearing merciful while lacking the ability to punish does not inspire respect, it invites testing. Humans instinctively sense where consequences end. When authority cannot enforce its boundaries, those boundaries dissolve. Machiavelli did not oppose mercy, he opposed weakness disguised as morality. True mercy, he argued, only exists when punishment is possible but restrained. Mercy without power is desperation. Mercy with power is choice. This distinction is crucial. Power grants the freedom to be gentle. Weakness forces gentleness and breeds resentment. Machiavelli saw that people exploit leniency when they do not fear repercussions. They interpret kindness as permission. Over time, exploitation escalates. Authority erodes. Chaos creeps in quietly. This is why Machiavelli insisted that strength must precede compassion. Only then does mercy carry weight. Only then does forgiveness feel intentional rather than inevitable. Fear underwrites mercy. Without it, mercy loses meaning. Power that cannot punish cannot protect, and kindness that cannot defend itself becomes a liability rather than a virtue. Fear travels faster than reputation. Stories move quicker than armies. A single act can echo across generations if it captures imagination. Machiavelli understood narrative power long before psychology named it. Fear thrives on storytelling. People amplify warnings. They exaggerate consequences. They pass fear along voluntarily because it feels like protection. This makes fear efficient. Authority does not need to announce itself repeatedly. Others do it for them. Reputation spreads slowly. Fear spreads instantly. One decisive moment can define perception for years. Machiavelli saw that imagination is the true battlefield. People fear what they believe you can do more than what you actually do. This is why fear must be managed carefully. One act, strategically executed, can establish dominance far beyond its scale. Repetition weakens impact. Novelty sharpens it. Fear, once embedded in narrative, becomes self-sustaining. Stories outlive rulers. Warnings outlast enforcement. Machiavelli understood that power is not just physical. It is psychological and symbolic. Fear lives comfortably in imagination, and imagination has no limits. Fear is not about cruelty, it is about certainty. People fear unpredictability more than pain. Chaos terrifies because it removes control. Machiavelli understood that certainty calms fear even when consequences are severe. When rules are clear and enforcement is consistent, fear becomes stable. It no longer produces panic, it produces order. People adapt to certainty, they plan around it, they respect it. Cruelty is chaotic, certainty is structural. Machiavelli argued that authority should be predictable, not volatile. Volatility breeds anxiety and hatred. Predictability breeds compliance. When consequences are known, people regulate themselves. Fear becomes less emotional and more mechanical. This kind of fear feels almost calming because it reduces uncertainty. Machiavelli's realism here is precise. Fear is most effective when it removes surprises. Authority should feel inevitable, not explosive. Certainty transforms fear from terror into structure, and structure is what sustains power over time. A leader who relies only on fear will eventually face rebellion. Fear alone cannot sustain loyalty indefinitely. Machiavelli never claimed otherwise. Fear is a foundation, not a ceiling. A leader who ignores affection entirely invites long-term instability. But a leader who ignores fear invites immediate collapse. Machiavelli's wisdom lies in balance. Fear establishes order. Trust builds endurance. Fear prevents chaos. Respect prevents revolt. Authority that relies solely on fear becomes brittle. Authority that rejects fear becomes naive. Machiavelli advocated realism, not extremism. Fear must anchor power, not consume it. When fear is the only tool, resentment accumulates silently. When fear is absent, disorder erupts loudly. Stability lives between these extremes. Machiavelli's philosophy is often misread as ruthless when it is actually pragmatic. He understood limits. Fear creates compliance. Wisdom determines how far to push it. In modern life, fear still governs. The forms have changed, but the mechanism remains. Careers are shaped by fear of failure. Relationships are influenced by fear of abandonment. Institutions operate on fear of consequences. Those who understand fear understand influence. Those who deny it are often controlled by it unconsciously. Machiavelli's insights apply far beyond politics. Social systems, workplaces, and hierarchies still rely on fear to maintain order. Deadlines, penalties, reputations, all are modern expressions of the same ancient force. Fear motivates behavior faster than inspiration ever could. This is not pessimism, it is observation. The modern world did not outgrow fear, it refined it. Machiavelli's relevance endures because human nature has not changed. The tools evolved. The instincts did not. Fear can be internal as well. The most powerful fear is self-directed. Discipline is fear turned inward, the fear of regret, stagnation, or self-betrayal. Machiavelli understood that strong individuals do not fear others as much as they fear becoming weak. Internal fear produces control without coercion. It creates standards. It enforces consistency. When fear of failure outweighs comfort, growth accelerates. This form of fear is constructive. It sharpens focus. It fuels resilience. Machiavelli's realism applies here too. Internal authority is the strongest authority. Those who govern themselves rarely need external control. Fear, when internalized wisely, becomes discipline. And discipline creates independence. Machiavelli never glorified fear. He respected it. He treated fear like gravity, unpleasant, unavoidable, powerful. You do not argue with gravity, you work with it. Ignore it, and you fall. Understand it, and you build structures that stand. Machiavelli's reputation suffers because people mistake realism for cruelty. But he was not advocating terror. He was acknowledging force. Fear exists whether we approve of it or not. Denying it weakens power. Respecting it strengthens structure. Machiavelli's insight was sober, not sadistic. He saw fear as a natural law of human behavior. Natural laws do not care about ideals. They operate regardless. Wisdom lies in understanding them. The tragedy of fear is not that it exists, but that it is misunderstood. Used blindly, fear destroys. Used strategically, it stabilizes. The difference lies in intention and restraint. Fear without purpose breeds suffering. Fear with purpose creates order. Machiavelli's warning was never be cruel, but be clear. Fear must serve structure, not ego. When fear becomes emotional, it becomes corrosive. When it becomes strategic, it becomes functional. Misunderstanding fear leads to abuse. Understanding fear leads to control. This distinction defines whether power collapses or endures. Fear is the fastest weapon because it speaks directly to human nature. It bypasses ideology and targets instinct. Machiavelli's lesson is not to terrorize, but to see reality without illusion. Power belongs not to the cruel, but to the clear-eyed. Those who understand fear understand humanity. They recognize limits. They apply restraint. They act decisively without indulgence. Machiavelli did not teach domination. He taught perception. To rule, to lead, to influence, one must understand what moves people when comfort disappears. Fear remains the fastest force because it reaches the deepest layer of the human mind. And those who acknowledge this truth, without cruelty, without fantasy, are the ones who shape outcomes rather than become victims of them.